You probably do not think of yourself as someone who is smart with money. You have never built a viral spreadsheet. You do not have some complex options trading strategy. You have not retired at 32 to travel the world on passive income. And by the standards of what financial intelligence looks like on the internet, you feel pretty average. But here is what is interesting about people who are genuinely good with money. They almost never match the image we have in our heads. We picture someone with exceptional money skills as obviously wealthy, constantly talking about their portfolio, upgrading everything they own, checking their brokerage app 12 times a day. Behavioral economics research tells a completely different story. The people with the strongest long-term financial outcomes tend to display quiet psychological patterns that do not look like financial brilliance at first glance. They look like habits. They look like personality quirks. Sometimes they even look like anxiety. This video covers 13 of those patterns. Some will feel obvious. Some will feel contradictory. A few might make you uncomfortable because they reveal costs you did not know you were paying. And if you recognize yourself in more than half of these, you are probably handling money better than the vast majority of people around you, even if it has never felt that way. Number 1, you have automated your financial life to the point where money barely crosses your mind. This is counterintuitive because we assume that being good with money means actively managing it, checking accounts, reviewing budgets, making deliberate choices about every dollar. But the research says otherwise. Here's how Rich Richard handles money. His paycheck hits his account, and within 24 hours, predetermined amounts have already moved. A percentage goes to his investment accounts, another chunk covers his bills. His emergency fund gets his deposit. His spending money lands in a separate account. By the time Richard wakes up on payday, the important decisions have already been made without him. Poor Peter also earns good money, but every paycheck requires a series of choices. Should I move some to savings this month? How much can I put toward the credit card? Maybe I will invest next month when things settle down. Each of those micro decisions depletes a limited cognitive resource. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function and willpower, has a daily capacity ceiling. Every financial choice you make burns through some of that capacity. People who are genuinely smart with money understand this without anyone teaching it to them. They remove the decision entirely. If your financial life runs on autopilot because you built the system once and it now handles itself, that is not laziness. That is one of the most sophisticated financial moves a person can make. Number 2, your brain automatically translates prices into hours of your life. Instead of seeing a $200 pair of shoes, your brain immediately calculates something like that as 10 hours of work after taxes. Instead of thinking I saved $50, your mind reframes it as I kept 2.5% of my monthly income. You cannot help it. The translation happens before you even decide whether you want the thing. Research published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that people who naturally frame spending in terms of labor hours or income percentages make significantly more rational purchasing decisions. The emotional reaction of wanting something gets interrupted by the analytical calculation of whether it is worth trading a specific piece of your life for it. Rich Richard sees a weekend trip advertised for $800 and his brain immediately converts it. That is 2 full days of my working life. Is this trip worth 2 days of my existence on this planet? Sometimes the answer is yes, but the calculation always happens first. Poor Peter sees the same trip and thinks, can I put this on a card and figure it out later? The cost never gets translated into anything personal. It stays abstract, a number on a screen rather than a piece of his finite time on Earth, and abstract costs are easy to ignore, which is why Peter keeps spending on things he barely remembers 3 months later. If prices automatically convert to life hours inside your head, your brain has built a natural defense against impulsive spending that most people never develop. Number 3, you separate your money into mental categories and it actually helps you. Economist Richard Thaler won a Nobel Prize partly for describing what he called mental accounting, the idea that people instinctively sort money into imaginary buckets rather than treating every dollar as interchangeable. Traditional economics says this is irrational. A dollar is a dollar regardless of which mental envelope you put it in. But here is the twist. While mental accounting leads some people into terrible decisions, like treating a tax refund as free money and blowing it, for others, it functions as a surprisingly effective self-control mechanism. Rich Richard has clear mental categories. His emergency fund is untouchable. His investment contributions are spoken for before they arrive. His entertainment budget exists in a separate mental space from his grocery budget. These categories create psychological barriers that make it harder to raid one account to feed another. Poor Peter treats all his money as one big pool. Need new tires? pull from whatever is available. Want to eat out 3 extra times this month? It all comes from the same place. There are no mental walls, which means there is no friction when spending starts creeping beyond what he planned. The interesting thing is that this pattern often develops without anyone teaching it. People who are smart with money frequently describe setting up these mental walls instinctively, long before they learned any formal financial concepts. The categories felt natural, like the money belonged in specific places and moving it would violate some internal rule. If you naturally organize your money into purpose-driven categories and feel genuinely uncomfortable moving money between them, your version of mental accounting is working as a wealth-building tool rather than a cognitive bias. Number 4, carrying debt creates something close to physical discomfort in your body. A lot of people with strong money management describe debt not as a financial inconvenience, but as a bodily sensation. They say it feels heavy. They say it sits in their chest. They say they cannot fully relax when they owe money, even if the interest rate is low and the payments are manageable. This is not just dramatic language. Brain imaging studies have shown that for certain individuals, the awareness of owing money activates the same neural pathways associated with physical pain and threat detection. Their nervous system responds to a credit card balance the way it would respond to hearing a strange noise in the house at night. Rich Richard paid off his car loan 2 years early even though the interest rate was only 4%. His friends said it made no sense mathematically. He could have invested that money and earned more, but Richard was not optimizing for math. He was optimizing for the weight in his chest that would not go away until the balance hit 0. Poor Peter carries 3 separate balances and sleeps fine. The payments are automatic and he has learned to tune out the total. The debt does not register as a threat because his brain has normalized it. If carrying any kind of balance genuinely bothers you, not intellectually but physically, your nervous system has a built-in alarm system that most people simply do not have. And that alarm is protecting your finances whether you realize it or not. Number 5, you resist lifestyle inflation even when your income gives you every reason to spend more. When most people earn more, they spend more. Economists call it lifestyle creep, and research from the National Bureau of Economic Research confirms that it is one of the most persistent forces working against wealth accumulation. Income goes up, spending rises to match, and the gap between earning and keeping stays the same regardless of how much someone makes. But people who are genuinely smart with money describe an internal resistance to this pattern. When their spending starts matching their income too closely, something feels wrong. Not morally wrong, just off, like wearing a jacket that does not fit properly. Rich Richard got a significant raise last year. He drives the same car, he lives in the same apartment, his grocery bill is identical. The only thing that changed is the automatic transfer to his brokerage account, which increased by almost the exact amount of his raise. From the outside, you would never guess his income went up at all. Poor Peter got a similar raise and within 3 months had a nicer apartment, a new car payment, and a more expensive gym membership. His lifestyle expanded to absorb every additional dollar. If you have experienced real discomfort when your spending starts creeping upward, if increasing your lifestyle feels like losing something rather than gaining it, your psychology is doing exactly what wealth builders need it to do. And yes, this creates social friction sometimes. Friends wonder why you still drive the same car when you got promoted. Family asks why you have not upgraded your house. But your internal comfort zone is anchored to a spending baseline that your income has outgrown. And that gap between what you earn and what you spend is quietly becoming the most valuable thing you own. Number 6, watching your savings grow gives you genuine pleasure. This one sounds simple, but the neuroscience behind it is significant. Most people get their dopamine hit from buying things. The anticipation, the purchase, the novelty. That is standard brain chemistry. But a subset of people experience that same reward response from watching account balances climb. Brain imaging studies on financial decision-making have found that some individuals show heightened reward center activation when they see savings or investment accounts increase, even by small amounts. Their brains literally find accumulation rewarding in the same way other brains find consumption rewarding. Rich Richard checks his net worth tracker once a month and feels a genuine wave of satisfaction when the number has grown. It is not intellectual appreciation. It is the same feeling other people get from unboxing a new purchase. The difference is that his dopamine source compounds over time while the spending dopamine fades within hours. Poor Peter gets excited about new things for about 3 days. Then the novelty wears off and he needs another purchase to recreate the feeling. His reward cycle is expensive to maintain. Richard's costs nothing and actually builds wealth. If you feel real pleasure, not just abstract satisfaction, but actual enjoyment, From watching your financial numbers climb, your brain chemistry is giving you an enormous structural advantage. Number 7, you make decisions today based on what your future self would want. This is where it gets psychologically interesting. Research from Stanford's Virtual Human Interaction Lab found that when people are shown aged versions of themselves through virtual reality, their saving behavior changes dramatically. Suddenly, retirement is not an abstract concept. It is a real person with a real face who needs real money, but some people have this connection naturally without any technology. When they consider a purchase, they are not just asking, do I want this right now? They are asking, does 65-year-old me wish I had this thing? Or does 65-year-old me wish I had invested this money instead? And they genuinely care what that future person thinks, because to them, that future person already exists. Rich Richard turned down a luxury vacation last spring, not because he could not afford it, but because he ran the mental simulation. He imagined himself at 62 looking back, and the 62-year-old version of himself was happier with the extra $12,000 compounding in his portfolio than with the memory of a slightly nicer hotel room. Poor Peter does not really think about his future self at all. Retirement is a vague concept somewhere in the distance. The vacation sounds great right now, so he books it. There is no internal negotiation because there is no future person sitting at the table. If your brain naturally runs this negotiation, if your future self feels vivid and present rather than theoretical, you possess a cognitive advantage that research says is one of the strongest predictors of long-term financial outcomes. Number 8, you know your financial numbers without opening an app. If someone asks you right now what your checking account balance is, your total outstanding debt, your approximate net worth, you would be reasonably close without looking anything up. Not because you obsessively monitor your accounts, but because you have developed an ambient awareness of your financial position. Think of it like knowing roughly how much gas is in your car or how much food is in your refrigerator. You do not check constantly. You just know because you pay enough attention for the information to register without becoming an obsession. Rich Richard knows he has roughly $22,000 in his checking account, about $480,000 across his investment accounts, and zero consumer debt. He did not look those up. They live in his head the way his phone number does. Poor Peter honestly has no idea what his checking balance is. Could be 2,000, could be 800. He avoids looking because the number sometimes creates anxiety. So the financial picture stays blurry, which is exactly how spending drift happens. People gradually overspend for months without catching it because they never had a baseline awareness to compare against. That ambient financial awareness you carry around is not anxiety. It is orientation, and it prevents the kind of slow financial erosion that catches most people completely off guard. If you're finding this useful, consider subscribing. I break down the psychology and mechanics of building real wealth every week. Number 9, saying no to a purchase makes you feel lighter, not deprived. Turn down an expensive dinner invitation, skip the premium hotel upgrade, pass on the limited time sale. For a lot of people, each of those decisions feels like a sacrifice, like they are denying themselves something they wanted and deserve. But people who are smart with money often describe something different. The no itself creates a sense of relief. The pressure of the decision lifts. The money stays where it belongs. The future stays intact. This is not about being cheap or never enjoying anything. It is about the emotional weight of spending feeling heavier than the pleasure of having. Rich Richard declined a friend's invitation to a $200 concert last month. His immediate feeling was not disappointment. It was relief. $200 that might have produced 3 hours of entertainment stayed in his account where it continues working for him. That math felt satisfying in a way the concert probably would not have. Poor Peter said yes because he did not want to miss out. He had a decent time but forgot about it within a week. The money is gone permanently for a memory he rarely revisits. When no feels better than yes, your emotional relationship with money is functioning as a protection system rather than a deprivation system. That distinction matters more than almost any financial strategy you could learn. Number 10, you over-research small purchases but handle large financial decisions with relative calm. You will spend 45 minutes reading reviews before buying a $30 kitchen tool, comparing quality ratings, calculating cost per use, checking whether it goes on sale in 2 weeks, but then you will confidently increase your monthly investment contribution by $500 without losing any sleep over it. This pattern looks irrational on the surface, but research from MIT suggests it is actually the optimal approach. People who carefully optimize small recurring expenses tend to accumulate significantly more wealth over time than people who only focus on the big financial moments. Why? Because the small decisions compound. A $5 subscription you never use is $60 a year. The slightly cheaper grocery store saves you $800 annually. Those numbers add up across hundreds of repeated choices. The large financial decisions, by contrast, have usually been pre-decided through months of research and framework building. When the moment comes to execute, the thinking is already done. It is just a button press. Rich Richard agonized over which brand of coffee beans to buy because he drinks coffee every single day and the per ounce difference compounds over a year. But when it came time to roll over his old 401k into a new brokerage, he handled it in an afternoon because the research had been done months ago. Poor Peter never compares prices on small items because each one seems insignificant. But then he agonizes over every large financial decision because he has no framework, no research, no pre-built confidence. His priorities are exactly backward. If you agonize over a $5 monthly subscription but feel calm about your retirement contributions, your attention is calibrated correctly even if it does not feel that way. Number 11, you carry detailed mental maps of financial disaster. This one sounds dark, but it is genuinely protective. Job loss, medical emergency, market, crash, economic recession. You have walked through these scenarios repeatedly in your mind. You have already grieved the hypothetical loss. You have already mapped out how you would survive. You know exactly which expenses you would cut first, how many months your emergency fund covers, and what your contingency plan looks like if the contingency plan fails. Psychologists call this defensive pessimism, and research from Wellesley College found that people who use this strategy actually perform better in uncertain situations because they have already processed the anxiety before the crisis arrives. They have pre-solved the problem in their imagination. Rich Richard has run the unemployment scenario so many times he could write a manual for it. He knows his savings cover 11 months of expenses, he knows which 3 subscriptions he would cancel first, and he knows his skills are transferable enough to find contract work within 8 weeks. He has never been unemployed, but he has rehearsed it thoroughly. Poor Peter has never once considered what happens if he loses his job. The idea is too uncomfortable to think about, so he avoids it entirely. Which means if it actually happens, the emotional shock and the logistical scramble hit him simultaneously. And his decisions under that kind of stress will be significantly worse. If you carry these disaster maps in your head, the anxiety they sometimes create is the cost of preparation, and that preparation is worth more than most people will ever understand. Number 12, you get genuinely excited about boring financial milestones, paying off a student loan, hitting a round number in your savings account, maxing out a retirement contribution for the year. These events create real emotional responses for you. Not polite intellectual satisfaction, but actual excitement. Maybe you told someone about it. Maybe you felt a quiet rush that lasted the entire day. This matters because most brains do not generate much dopamine from watching a debt balance reach 0 or a savings account cross into 6 figures. Those are invisible victories that produce no social validation and no physical reward. But if your brain treats those milestones the way other brains treat a vacation or a new car, your reward system is aligned with exactly the behaviors that build long-term wealth. You do not have to force yourself to save because saving feels genuinely good. You do not have to discipline yourself into hitting targets because hitting targets triggers a real neurological payoff. Rich Richard felt a rush of genuine satisfaction when his net worth crossed $300,000. He did not tell anyone. He did not post about it. He just sat with the feeling for a few minutes and then went about his day. But that feeling was real, and it powered the next 6 months of consistent investing without any additional motivation required. Poor Peter hit the same milestone and felt nothing because the number was abstract. It lived inside an app he rarely opened. There was no emotional connection to the progress, which meant there was no internal fuel to keep going. If boring financial milestones genuinely excite you, that excitement is an engine most people do not have. And unlike motivation from the external sources, like a podcast or a finance article that pumps you up for a few days before fading, this internal reward system is self-sustaining. Every milestone you hit fuels the drive to hit the next one. The satisfaction compounds just like the money does. Number 13, you understand that being smart with money has a hidden cost and you accept the trade-off. Here's what nobody tells you about having these patterns. They do not always feel good. The spending guilt that shows up even when you can clearly afford something. The constant forward thinking that makes it hard to fully enjoy the present moment. The mental disaster scenarios that generate anxiety even when everything is objectively fine. The difficulty relating to friends who spend freely without a second thought. A study published in the Journal of Economic Psychology, found that individuals with high savings rates often experience more guilt around discretionary spending than those who save less, even when their financial situations are objectively stronger. Their brains have been so thoroughly trained to associate spending with loss that the alarm goes off even when the threat is not real. Rich Richard took a vacation last year and could not fully relax because part of his brain kept calculating the daily cost and comparing it to what that money would be worth in 20 years. He knows this is irrational. He went anyway and had a good time, but the mental math never fully turned off. Poor Peter spent twice as much on his vacation and enjoyed every minute without a single financial thought crossing his mind. He is also significantly further from retirement. Both of them are making trade-offs. Neither approach is objectively better. The psychology that makes you good with money is not a superpower. It is a configuration. Sometimes that configuration creates anxiety. Sometimes it prevents you from enjoying the fruits of your own discipline. Sometimes it makes you feel isolated from people who seem to live more freely. And if you did not recognize yourself in these patterns, if money management feels like pushing water uphill, that is not a character flaw. That is information about how your brain is wired. You can build systems that create the same outcomes without requiring the same natural wiring. Automatic transfers, artificial friction on spending, gamification of saving. These tools produce identical results over time without needing your psychology to cooperate. But here is where all of this comes together. Understanding your own psychology around money is itself a form of financial intelligence. It is not just about knowing how compound interest works or what a Roth IRA does. It is about understanding why you make the decisions you make, what triggers your spending, what makes saving feel rewarding or punishing, how your brain discounts the future, what emotional patterns drive your financial behavior. Research on what behavioral economists call delayed discounting shows that the strongest predictor of long-term financial success is not intelligence or income. It is the ability to value future rewards nearly as much as immediate ones. People whose brains treat $1 10 years from now as almost as real as $1 today make fundamentally different choices than people whose brains massively discount anything that is not immediate. If you recognize yourself in more than half of these 13 signs, your brain is wired in a way that quietly compounds wealth over time. Not through brilliance, not through high income, through patterns that most people never develop and never recognize. And the people who build the most wealth over the next decade are not going to be the ones with the flashiest strategies or the highest salaries. They are going to be the ones whose psychology around money is doing the work silently, automatically, and without anyone noticing.